All right, hello students. This week you guys are going to be working on some reading, and if you have time and the ability, some review of some Google slides on a form of warfare, a form of fighting that is common in most modern wars, but was especially common in World War One. And that form of fighting on the Western Front was called trench warfare. And just so you guys can get some ideas about it from this video, you guys will be reading, and the reading is in a document titled Trench Warfare, Guerra de Trincheras. And again, these Google slides. And just to summarize what trench warfare was, trench warfare was basically fighting from holes in the ground. And most of the war, the soldiers on both the British French side and on the German side fought from those holes and just spent basically 40 years just shooting each other from those holes. And sometimes when people look at this today, it's almost hard to believe. You know, when you see movies, when you maybe see games of warfare, you see people running, people ducking behind things. There seems to be a lot of movement. But World War One, on the Western Front, there was almost no movement. It was fighting from holes. And if you did last week's reading, you know, some of the reason they were fighting from holes, if you did last week's reading and then watched the videos, is because of how effective the weapons were. And the weapon that usually comes to mind first for its effectiveness was the machine gun. But probably more effective than the machine gun, although not as fancy, was the average bolt-action rifle that each soldier had. And something interesting about these type of rifles, first and foremost, they're very powerful. They don't shoot a lot of bullets. To fire a bullet, you actually have to cycle this bolt. You don't have to put one in for each shot, but in that bolt you'll have one bullet like this. And to fire it, you need to cycle the bolt back up, and then it's ready to fire. And that takes a few seconds. So in a minute, if you watched the videos last week, you can only fire these a few times. But here's why these guns were so effective. Out to like 400 yards, so think about 4 football fields, you could hit a target. And in fact, not only could you hit the target, you could kind of pick the spot, head to waist, you wanted to hit that target in for the real good shooters. And you know, these guns is what kept everybody in holes, because if you were to get out of a hole, somebody on the other side could shoot you with one of these. And that made it so that, and so kind of an example I would use in a classroom to describe that would be a story that my great-grandfather used to tell about fighting in World War One and fighting in trenches, fighting in holes in the ground. And one story he would tell, and I'll come over here to show you, he would talk about being in their trench all day, and they could stand up in their trench. I have to kind of bend down to make this look more like a trench. He could stand up, and they would stand on a bench to look over, but most of the day they would spend down here, and they would not want to look over. And they would spend entire days, weeks at a time, sometimes just staying inside their hole and not doing anything else. You know, 90% of the time, there's no fighting. There's no fighting. So they would get really bored. And he would tell my dad a story that when they would get really, really bored and things would have been quiet for a while, they would take a stick, probably a wider stick than this, but a stick like this, and they would start doing this and sticking the stick up out of their hole. And they knew the other side could see the stick, and they would wait to have the Germans shoot at their stick. And then they would bring the stick down, and if the Germans hit their stick, they would cheer, yay! And if they missed their stick, they would laugh, ha ha ha, kind of laughing at them for not being good shots. And you know, my great grandfather was a good shot. He was a Katia, cacciatore or cacciatore. He was a hunter. And so he would sometimes get up, look at the other side, and shoot at their sticks when they put them up, and wait to hear cheers when he hit their sticks. But that's what they would do, and that's how effective their guns were. Think about, if you're hitting this stick, would they be able to hit a soldier doing this? Probably. So nobody wanted to do this. It's okay to put a stick up, but you definitely don't want to put your head up here during World War I. Okay, so again, you have some slides to look at, some really good slides, really good videos in these slides, some Hollywood versions of what the trenches looked like, what the fighting was like for you to review, and some really good informational ones, some slides of kind of what where they fought looked like, describing like where my great-grandfather was. You can see the bench, standing up on it, looking over. And these videos and the questions with them, why did people fight in trenches? Could you survive in a trench? These are really good, I think, informative ones for you that might kind of wonder about what the war would be like for you if you were there. So anyway, look for these, get ready to use them. You'll get some questions on Wednesday, and you can use the reading to answer the questions. If you have any questions before Wednesday, after Wednesday, make sure to email me. You can email me at any time, and I usually respond within a few minutes between 8:30 and 4 p.m. All right, hopefully you guys are well. We are well here, and hope you guys have a good week. Thank you.